Hi, so it's great to be here today. I'm really glad that we can be having this conversation. I do believe it is a very important conversation. Unfortunately, Kashifa couldn't join us today, so it's just me, but I'm sure we'll be okay. So, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Kelly McQue, and I'm the author of At Home with Cannabis, my book. So, my story, just briefly, is in 2012 I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I decided that instead of going the conventional route of chemo, radiation, surgery, that instead I would go the natural route. And unfortunately at the time I also suffered from chronic depression. I'd given birth to my daughter recently, and so that had intensified the depression. So I wasn't in a great space when I got the news that I had cancer. So to cut a long story short, I eventually found the natural method that I felt that not only would help me, but something that I could do. For people who don't suffer from depression, it might be difficult to understand, but for those of you who do, you know what it's like. Most days it's difficult just to get yourself going. There were days I remember where I couldn't get myself showered, I couldn't leave the house, I couldn't achieve these very small basic things, and now I was expecting myself to heal myself of something as serious as cancer. So when I was looking through all the different alternatives, one thing that I realized was that it definitely could be done naturally, but whether or not I had what it took, that was the question. I didn't know if I had the self-discipline, if I had the motivation to be able to do this. So I started looking online and looking for different ways that I could at least start the journey. And that's when I came across a video called Run from the Cure by a man called Rick Simpson. And in this video, Rick Simpson spoke about how he had used cannabis to help himself heal himself of skin cancer and to help a few of his friends to heal various different cancers. And what really spoke to me about the video was that he wasn't looking to sell anything. He was just sharing that information. And it resonated with me. I had been using cannabis, smoking it for, since university. And obviously without realizing it, I was self-medicating because of the depression. So it was sort of helping me to cope and to get through. So when I came across that video, it made sense to me. So in that video, he very briefly shows how he makes the oil. And I thought to myself, I'm sure I can do this, because this was back in 2012. There was nowhere to buy it. There was nowhere to order it from. It was still very illegal. And even the notion, you must remember at this point, that it was somehow medicinal was quite strange for a lot of people. So my husband and I, we set about getting the different ingredients. It worked out to be extremely cheap. And since I was unemployed at the time because of the depression, this was very beneficial. So it was easy enough to make the oil. It's all in here if you're looking for a recipe. And yeah, I started taking it, and it wasn't a smooth journey. I do go into it a little bit more in the book, because with cannabis, dosage is very specifically, it's very individual. So a dose that works for me is not necessarily the correct dose for somebody else. So yeah, I had to figure that out as I went along, but it wasn't that bad. And what people also need to remember about cannabis is that you can't die from it. It has a very, very low toxicity. So it's really one of the safest medicines around there. So there is a lot of room to err. It's not to say that if you take too much, you're not going to have an unpleasant time. I wouldn't recommend taking too much. But at worst, you're going to feel horrible for a little while. You're going to need to sleep. And when you wake up, you're going to be perfectly fine. So that's one of the lovely things about cannabis. And so it's also why I felt safe using this as my main sort of treatment for the cancer. Anyway, after about a few about a month or so of increasing my dose and increasing my dose, I started to notice some changes in myself. For somebody who was, who found it very difficult to get excited, I kind of lived in this sort of shallow feeling of despair most days, where most of everything just felt hopeless. And then suddenly I started to feel excitement for my future. I started to feel motivated. I started to do more research about what more I could do to help myself, to heal myself. I started to feel empowered. So after being on the oil for another month or so, I then started fasting. And with the help of the oil, I actually ended up doing a 40-day water fast. So I don't recommend that for everybody, but for me it was the right thing to do. And that's 40 days of just water. And for somebody who, weeks before had barely been able to get herself out of bed, this was a huge thing for me. I mean, it was massive. And I felt great and I felt good. And I knew in my heart that I couldn't be feeling this good and still be getting sick. So I persevered. And a little bit later, a family friend of ours also asked me to help him with his cancer. He had renal cancer. And so the two of us then did this journey together, although we had two completely different cancers, we were using my oil, this exact same oil, and we were able to sort of help each other along as we went away. And it took us both approximately about between 8 to 9 months to get the all clear from our doctors. He was 83 at the time. I was 34. As I said, mine was breast cancer. His was renal cancer. And that to me was amazing. And I just thought to myself, we got to let people know about this. I mean, it's one thing for me to have done it, but to then have seen it happen in somebody else who was much further along and who was much sicker than I was at the time, and to come and to make such a wonderful recovery. So yeah, I definitely felt that this was something that we needed to share. But of course, as I said, during those days, it wasn't, people had still been told by the government that it was bad for us and it had no medicinal value. And of course, using it, even myself, even to heal myself, made us criminals. So we still had a long road to go, but in those years, people have really come around. So many people now understand the importance of this plant and how it can benefit in so many ways. But for me personally, I want to just share with people. I want to be able to empower people to be able to do what I did at home, confidently, feeling good the way I felt. And that is why this book has come about. So in the book, what you're going to find is my story and stories of a few of the other people I assisted, a little bit of how cannabis works, and then some tried and tested remedies that I've used, using different parts of the plant, because you can use the whole plant, and you can use it for different things. So what the book has got is different remedies that you can make for yourself at home using this plant. And then at the very back, there is a dosage guide. As I said, taking cannabis is very individual. So what I have here, it's a very basic guide for people to just start, to be able to start their journey and feel confident knowing that they're going in the right direction. So I really do feel that if you've got this, you're going to be able to do what I did. You're going to be able to empower yourself to heal yourself. Okay, and that is really, I believe, the gift of cannabis. Although it does heal us on a physiological level, on an actual cell level, what it also does is it seems to heal us from an emotional level, so that not only do we start feeling stronger physically, but the longer I've used it, the more emotionally strong I've become. From someone who really could not have sat here in front of you people talking to you by myself, I could not have done that. And yet, with years of taking cannabis, because I continue to take it to manage the symptoms of the depression, and now I can be here. I can share this information. I can live my life. I can enjoy my life. And that is really what I'm wanting to give people. I'm wanting to give them that power, that knowledge, that they can take this and run with it. Because here in South Africa, we are so deeply, deeply blessed. We have got an amazing cannabis community that has fought very hard for us to have the right to be able to use cannabis at home and grow our own cannabis. And so I do just want to take a little moment to give a shout out to Gareth Prince and Jeremy Acton and the Dagga couple, who have fought for us to be able to win this right, and they won it for all of us. And what's so huge about this, guys, is it means that you can legally grow your own cannabis, okay? You can make your medicine right from the start. You know what you're putting into that soil. You know what you're giving that plant. And then you're taking that plant that you've grown and that's been grown for you, and you're making medicine with it. Medicine that can heal you. Medicine that can improve the quality of your life. You do not need to necessarily go to a doctor. I mean, obviously you can, and getting different opinions is great, but I didn't. All right, and I know other people who've also stopped going as often to the doctors as a result of this. And one of the most wonderful things about cannabis is that it helps you to come off of so many of your other medications. It helps you to sleep better. It helps you to feel better. It helps you to think better. So, okay, for those of you who understand cannabis and why we love it, I'm singing to the choir, I know. But for everybody else, it really is, I know it's a plant that has been deeply maligned, and it falsely, you know, they have made very false claims about a plant that really is turning out to be our saving grace. So I do also just want to talk a little bit about the benefits of growing at home. Although I'm not an expert grower myself, I have been growing for myself since we were allowed to. And I just want to let you know that the benefits of growing it are so varied, and there are so many. But one of the main ones for me is the cost. All right, if you're buying medicine, especially if you're a cancer patient, you're expected to take quite a lot of this oil over the course of your treatment. And for people who are struggling financially, this can be too expensive. Medical aid doesn't cover it, so you're expected to, fork out a wad of cash. For pensioners, this is very difficult. It's not something that people just have, these days anyway. Whereas if you're growing it yourself, it's so much cheaper. You get so much from these plants. And not only that, but you can use the different parts of the plant that you don't necessarily get when you go and buy off of, from whoever. You can use the root of the plant. You can use the seeds of the plant. You can use the leaves of the plant. And they all have different applications and different benefits for us. So, being able to grow it yourself and make it yourself is a really empowering part of being a South African for me. And it really, I feel very proud that we have this, that we won this right. And I do really want people to understand how important it is, because it means that you can do this. You can empower your health. You can free yourself from pharmaceuticals that are not necessarily giving you the full benefits that you need in order to enjoy life. So yes, those are some of the benefits of growing for yourself. At the same time, having said that, always be careful. Don't, the police are not as educated on this subject as we would like them to be. And until the government actually comes out with specific rules and regulations, it's always better to be on the safe side and rather plant it where people don't see it for now, just for now. But hopefully the government will be sorting that out soon enough. We'll see. We'll see. The other thing I wanted to talk about was also how I don't have any kind of medical qualification at all. Okay, so when I went into healing myself of cancer, it wasn't that I had come from any kind of a background. I didn't know what I was doing. I had been into natural healing and alternative healing for quite some time, but I was not an expert at all. It was more just something, that I was interested in learning more about. So when it came to healing myself, something afterwards when I spoke to people about it, that a lot of people would say was that you're not a doctor, Kelly. And that was something I really wanted to pass on to people, is that no, I'm not. And yet I still did it. And not only me, but if you read my book, you'll find there's stories in there of other people who had even less education than me, who successfully used cannabis to heal themselves and to improve the quality of their lives. So that's something I really want you to understand, is using this plant, it's not difficult. Once you've got the basic understanding, it really is a very simple and wonderful addition to your life and to your medicine closet, cabinet. It helps with just about everything, really. I also wanted to just talk to you wanted to show you a little demonstration of making some massage oil. But before we move on to that, I just want to talk about cannabis-infused coconut oil. Okay, so a lot of people know about that black oil that you get, and that is also, the recipe is in here. But a much easier sort of entry-level way of coming into using cannabis is actually with cannabis-infused coconut oil. And the reason being is that instead of it being a concentrate, it's diluted into the coconut oil. So here I've got a little bit. Just to show you that I've pre-made. I've also got the recipe for that in the book, obviously. Now, what I wanted to tell you about cannabis-infused coconut oil is, although it is a little bit of a time, it takes a little bit of time to make. It's very simple, but it takes a bit of time. Once you have that oil, it is really very simple to add it to anything. You can add it to your food, you can add it to your drinks, you can make creams with it, you can make massage oils, bath oils. You can just take it directly if you want to. You can put it into capsules. It's very versatile. So I really do recommend that people, I have done a little very short video for this talk, but it's in the book and it's very, very simple, and it lasts for ages. If you store it in a cool, dark place, you can keep it for years, really. So it's a very versatile, and it's a lovely entry point into using cannabis. And I would recommend you start there rather than with the concentrated oil, which is a little bit more tricky because of the concentration. So with the FICO, the concentrated full extract cannabis oil, the black oil, what happens is you get a very concentrated amount. So if you take even a little bit too much, it can have an effect. Whereas with the cannabis-infused coconut oil, because it's been diluted into the coconut oil, if you take a little bit too much, it's not that big a deal. It's not going to be, it's not going to send you off on a wild trip. So that's just something to bear in mind when you're doing this, is that so that's one of the reasons why I'm starting with this. And then the other thing I wanted to say is I am aware that a lot of people are scared of the high. Or should I say uncomfortable with the high feeling. And there are a couple of recipes in this book where you can use the cannabis plant without getting high. And one of them is this little remedy we're going to do now, which is a massage oil for pain. Cannabis oil is amazing for helping with pain. Not only the THC specifically helps with the pain, but it also, the CBD and stuff, helps with the inflammation. And then of course it's a powerful antioxidant. So whatever is causing that pain, if there are any impurities, let's say it's in a joint area or something, if there's any impurities stuck in that area, the cannabis oil will actually over time help your body to release that. And cleanse that area so that it can really get a proper long-term healing. The other thing, last thing I wanted to say is that it is a natural product, and with all natural products, it doesn't work overnight. There's some things where you get an immediate benefit from it, but there are a lot of other times where it takes a time. For me with the depression, it took 4 weeks before I really started to feel different. So you've got to take it every day. You've got to be consistent. That's just, getting around that. But the good news is the longer you take it, the more it helps you. It helps your brain, it helps your immune system, it helps with inflammation, it helps with sleep. So really it gives you a real all-round holistic sense of healing as you take it. And you will feel yourself feeling better and stronger the longer you take it. So let's do the massage oil. So it's very simple, really it is. Once you've got your cannabis infused coconut oil, as I said, recipes in the book, you add that, my little pot stirrer. I'm just using these for today, just to keep it all simple. So that's 50 mils. All right, so we're making 100 mils in total, and that was 50. And then we're going to add the other oils to it. I like to use with massage oils, I like to use grapeseed oil. Grapeseed oil. There we go. And then a little bit of almond oil, because it just gives it a richness that I really love. So there we go. Now we're going to be adding some essential oils. A little tip with essential oils, always try and add them right at the end so that we're not over stirring or overheating them. They're pretty sensitive. So you just want to be able to do that. And then we're going to add, so there you go. It's really that simple. So what I've done is I've added 50 mils of cannabis infused coconut oil, 30 mils of grapeseed oil, and 20 mils of almond oil to make 100 mils massage oil. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add some lavender. Lavender is amazing for inflammation, and it also really does help with pain. And of course, anxiety. Also, the smell of the cannabis can be quite pungent. It can be noticeable, and not everybody is fond of that smell. So having a few essential oils really does help. It helps enhance the healing of the massage oil, but it also helps the enjoyment so that you enjoy the smell. So we're going to add 1 drop of ylang-ylang. That's also because of the smell, and because ylang-ylang also helps us just to relax, which is very important and something that cannabis oil really helps us with. If you think about how much damage stress causes in our lives, it's really, I believe, one of the biggest killers. And cannabis oil really helps us to deal with stress and to be able to help our bodies cope and function and still heal while we still live in this extremely stressful life. So now we're going to put in a few drops of black pepper. The black pepper helps to improve the circulation. So it's going to take it lovely, like nice and deep into the tissue, so that if there's sort of deep tissue pain in there, right down in the muscles, it can help get in there. And then lastly, a little bit of peppermint for the same reason, and also because peppermint does also have the pain-killing qualities. So we're going to stick that in. Okay. I haven't told you any of the amounts of the drops. Sorry. Let me do that for you. So what we've got, let me just get to the massage oil. Here we go. So it's 50 mils of cannabis infused coconut oil, 30 mils of grapeseed oil, 20 mils of sweet almond oil, 2 drops of peppermint, 4 drops of lavender, 4 drops of black pepper, and 1 drop of ylang-ylang. I'm going to put that up there. If you want to have a look, I don't know if you can. Oh, no, it doesn't seem to really be showing. Sorry. But anyway, so now you take that. We've got all our essential oils in there with our oils, and we're going to stir that again. nice and gently, but we're going to make sure that all those essential oils get mixed properly and properly spread throughout. Also, because I use coconut oil and it's winter now, you might need to heat the oil up in some warm water beforehand just to get it liquid, because the coconut oil does go hard. If you don't like that aspect, you can use olive oil instead of coconut oil. And then the olive oil has also got a lovely thickness to it. And so it glides nicely when you're doing the massage. And of course it doesn't go solid and liquid depending on the temperature. So that's a personal choice. For me personally, because I make a big batch of cannabis infused coconut oil, and then I make creams with that. I make massage oil, bath oil, and then I use it as a butter to add to foods that I'm going to be eating, so that I need to, in order to treat the symptoms of the depression, I need to be having cannabis oil every single day. I've learned this now, lots of experimenting. So that's what I do. I don't love the taste of it, so I do find putting it into drinks and foods does help a lot, because and especially for people who are using it to heal cancer, they have to take huge tablespoons of it. So learning how to put it into food and stuff is very helpful, because as I said, the taste is not wonderful. So yeah. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about, if there is, oh yes, that's right. What happens if you take too much? All right, so it happens, okay, and it happened to me, and the first time I took it, I took too much, and you feel quite revolting, okay. It can make you feel nauseous, it can make you feel dizzy. Some people can get anxiety attacks. It can make your heart feel like it's pounding out of your chest, and especially when you're when you're sick, when something like that happens to you, it can be very frightening. So one of the most important things to know if you're going to use cannabis as a medicine is that you can't die from it. It can't hurt you, okay? The worst that's going to happen is that you're going to feel really wretched. You might vomit if you've taken too much, and that's a way of the body just purging itself. And you're going to get really thirsty, and you're going to need to drink a lot of water. But because really the worst that could happen is that you get dehydrated. You don't want that to happen. But other than that, other than feeling all of these very strange sensations, you're going to be absolutely fine. But there are a couple of things that you can do just to help yourself. So I'm going to just talk about that. So number one is just keep a glass of water near the bed, lie down and try and sleep. The sooner you can fall asleep and just sleep through it, the better. It's not to say that when you wake up in the morning, you're not going to still have a little bit of that sensation, but it will wear off. It wears off quite quickly and you return completely back to normal. Another thing that you need to also be aware of is your balance. So if you've taken too much, you might feel a little bit dizzy or wobbly. I remember the first night when I took too much, I felt like the walls had all gone sideways. I was trying to walk along them. And, it's funny now, but for somebody who is older and who cannot afford to have a fall, it's important to remember and to just maybe use the wall or ask for help if you have taken too much and you need to, go to the bathroom or something. Just maybe ask someone to help you along and just be there. Just to be on the safe side. But other than that, what you can do is if you have peppercorns, you can suck on those peppercorns. There's some CBD in the peppercorns, and that helps to balance out the effects of the THC. You can also use lemons. There's a terpene called limonene, which is in cannabis and lemons, but it also helps to balance out the effects of the THC. So I've got a recipe in my book for a little spritzer you can make yourself using lemon and peppercorns and mint, in case you've taken too much, which just helps you to take the edge off a little bit. But really, if you've taken too much, mostly you just have to go through that, sleep through it, if you can, and just know that you're going to be fine as soon as it passes. And then the two last things that you can do if you've taken too much is, number one is phone a friend. If you're feeling paranoid, if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling afraid, then it's a good idea to maybe phone someone you trust to just come and sit with you for a little bit. Maybe, just be near while you sleep so that you can relax and sleep, knowing that there's someone around. Or else another thing to do is just distract yourself. Watch some music, listen to some music or watch a movie. Just allow and the whole time knowing that you're going to be fine, okay? So that is something that people, I know it's a concern for people, is what if they take too much and then they lose their mind? You can't, all right? You're not going to use cannabis and suddenly develop schizophrenia, all right? Those are old myths that have been very much disproven, that the governments used to use to scare people from using cannabis. The symptoms you feel if you use too much are temporary. They're going to pass. They're not going to last forever. It might feel like forever when you're in that moment, but it's going to pass. And not only is it going to pass, but when it's passed, you're going to feel great because the cannabis is going to have cleared out all kinds of toxins and whatnot during that process. And that's one last thing I just wanted to mention, is one of the things that cannabis does do is it makes us very thirsty. Two things I wanted to talk about: thirsty and tired. And it's very important that when you get that thirst that you drink water. I believe that everything about cannabis, even the side effects, it's all about healing us. And so when it makes us thirsty like that, what it's doing is it's encouraging us to drink water. And that water then helps to flush out all the different toxins from your body. So it's important when you get that thirst, don't reach for coffee, don't reach for Coca-Cola, water. Okay? You need to help yourself on this journey. You can't leave it all up to the cannabis. You are a part of the story too. So that was the one thing, is water. The other thing is the tiredness. Now, when you start taking cannabis oil, the effects the next day can still linger for people who are sensitive. So if you're taking a lot of oil, the next day it can feel very difficult to get out of bed. You feel heavy, you feel tired, the bed feels warm and comfortable. Even once you're out of bed, you can feel a little foggy. It can be hard to focus and to concentrate. And that's okay. That's going to pass, okay? But one of the things I wanted to discuss was a lot of people then, because of that tiredness, they don't want to use the cannabis because they feel that sleepiness is interfering with their lives. And something I wanted to say is, number one, once your body adjusts to that level of your dose, you won't feel so tired anymore, number one. But secondly, and most importantly, when we are sick, we must sleep. All right, we live in a society where we are led to believe that unless we are busy, we are of no value. And I find, especially with people who are ill, they really want to prove, I think subconsciously they're afraid that they're a burden on others. And so they try very hard to help and to keep things going, and they run around and they're busy all the time. And that is contradictory to what they ought to be doing. And so the cannabis comes along and it slows you down. It says, take it slow. We're healing. And we heal best when we sleep. So my advice for people is to please don't fight that tiredness. Work with it. Incorporate it. Accept it. It's helping you. It's there for a reason. It's helping you to slow down. It's helping you to de-stress. And it's helping you to heal. So those are the two things I wanted to talk about, the sort of side effects of cannabis that are, important side effects of cannabis. So yes, I hope that you are excited about the fact that we can use this at home. This book is really, it's not a recreational book. That can come later. This is really just about improving our health. It's about being able to take back that power and to feel strong and vibrant and potent within your own life. And that's what this wonderful, wonderful plant has done for me and for other people that I've worked with. And that is what I would like it to do for you, for the people watching this, is to be able to incorporate it and use it in a way that suits you, that works for you. Because as I said, it's a very individual process. What my dose is not your dose, and what works for me may not work for you. But together, we'll figure it out. And once you've got it, you sail. And I really do believe that you have everything that you need in this book to be able to do what I did. I mean, I did not know half of what is in here when I healed myself of cancer. So with the information in here, really there's no stopping you. So yes, I do hope you've enjoyed this. I hope that it is exciting for you, that we are able to do this for ourselves, that we have finally won back this right, and that we can finally empower ourselves to heal ourselves and improve our quality of life. If you guys want to know more, if you want to stay in touch or ask questions, I'm on Facebook. You can get hold of me. I'm Kelly McQue. I also have a Facebook group called Canna Kitchen, which you are welcome to join. A wonderful community of people there. On Instagram, you can get me at CannaGuru_ZA or on Twitter at guru_cannabis. But it's been wonderful chatting today. I really do hope you've enjoyed it, and I really do hope that this book helps you. So yeah, I don't know if there's any questions or anything. If anybody wants, I'm going to just have a look quickly. So what's your advice if someone smokes it? Should they rather stop and do that? Very good question. All right. No, smoking is fine. I know smoking gets a bad rap because of cigarettes. I understand that. And also a lot of the earlier studies said that smoking cannabis was even worse than smoking cigarettes. What they didn't do in those studies is they didn't account for the fact that people put tobacco, cigarette tobacco, into smoked joints. That is not good. All right. But if you're smoking what we call clean green, where it's just the cannabis, then actually what they found is it's not bad for you. It's actually quite good for you. Smokers who also smoke cannabis have better lung function than smokers who don't smoke cannabis. So there's that. Also, cannabis has got a natural expectorant factor, the fact that it makes you cough, that coughing is actually helping your body to expel all kinds of chach that's been lingering down there that ought to not be there. So when you cough like that, that's really bringing all of that up, and it's helping your body to bring in all kinds of fresh oxygen, and that's all great. Also, another benefit of smoking it is it's a very quick relief. So for someone like me who suffers with the anxiety and the depression, if I feel everything is getting a little bit too close and a little bit too overwhelming, I will go and make myself a small joint. I will smoke that joint with my tea. I calm down, and then I'm ready to deal with the world. So no, I do not say to people you don't have to smoke. I would say though, rather don't put the cigarette tobacco with the cannabis. But if you're going to smoke cigarette tobacco, then also smoke cannabis. So I hope that answers your question. How does it help if someone is suffering from asthma? That's a wonderful question. All right, so one of the things it does is it helps to dilate our lungs. As I spoke about before with the coughing, that also can help to expand your lungs. They have been doing various tests using for years now. I mean, I had a cousin back when I was young who was prescribed cannabis for asthma. It also helps with the inflammation. So within the actual airway, so that's smoking. It's going to help with the, helping to dilate your lungs and your with the inflammation in the airways. Taking it, ingesting it, which I do actually think is maybe better with asthma, because I also suffer from asthma, and I find that sometimes the coughing can actually cause me to have a little bit of a mini asthma effect. Like it brings on the autoimmune effect of the asthma. So if that happens with you, then maybe be a little bit careful of that. But if you're ingesting it, how it's going to help you is it's going to help with inflammation. It's also going to help your immune system so that you're not going to get sick and get the flu, and that also causes other issues. I don't want to say too much else of what it does right now, because I do feel like they're still studying more on asthma. Some people I know have gotten such amazing results from it, whereas other people are still, we're still looking into it. And also another thing I wanted to say for asthma is the infused honey. There is a recipe in here, cannabis infused honey. The cannabis and the honey, I don't know, they just work together amazingly. I know for me with my asthma, they open up my airwaves. They help me to calm down a lot if I'm having an attack. But it really just helps me to feel like I'm opening up and I'm breathing again. So I would definitely recommend the cannabis infused honey for the asthma. And what's nice about it is you can just add it to your tea whenever you need to. And it actually tastes quite pleasant. So, all right. I don't know what the retail selling price is because everybody is different. But you're looking for a month's supply of cannabis-infused coconut capsules. You're looking at it between 600 to 1,000 Rand, depending on who you're buying them from. So add that up every month, and then you'll see the benefit of actually making your own medicines. It's really a huge cost-saving way of doing it. Okay. Hi, Harriet. Nice to see you. What is the book's retail price? Yes, very good. Thank you for reminding me. All right, so the book is 200 Rand, and you can get it at Bargain Books, Exclusive Books, Take a Lot. It's also, the ebook is available on Amazon. So, yeah, it's, I'm just trying to think if there's anywhere else now. I think that's pretty much it. But of course, if you're looking for it, you can always contact me and I'll find out for you where you can get hold of it. But otherwise, online is easy enough. But yeah, so that's 200 Rand for the book. And in the book, you're going to get my story. You're going to get a few stories from some people that I've helped, just to show. So what that does also is I just wanted to show that it's not just cancer that cannabis can help with. I mean, one of my people had lupus. Another woman I was working with was suffering from a result of her ARV medication. So as you can see, it's a very versatile plant. It can help in a lot of different ways. And then it also tells us the different parts of the plant that you can use, the different applications for those different plants. Just for example, the cannabis root is a very, very great medicine for your liver and for detoxing. And it doesn't make you high at all. But you're not going to be able to get that root anywhere unless you actually grow it for a little while, until once we've got the regulations and people know what they can sell and what, and how we can do that. But something just like the cannabis root, you can use that if you've got liver problems, or if you're going on a detox. It will help your body to flush out all of those toxins. So yeah, you got that, and then you've got the remedies, the actual recipes for different remedies. So you've got tinctures, the different types of tinctures. You've got cannabis seed milk, you've got the infused honey, you've got some creams, and then, as I said, at the back you've got a list of different ailments and how you can treat them. So we were talking about asthma earlier, so you've got a little entry there, asthma, and then what that'll do, if you go to that entry, you'll have a look, and it's got the dosage guide for adults. So cannabis infused coconut oil, it tells you where you can find the recipe, and then you start with a 1/4 teaspoon at night before bed for 3 nights. On the 4th night, you can increase that to 1/2 teaspoon if you are ready to. Keep increasing every 4 to 7 nights, or when you are able, by a quarter teaspoon until you are taking a full teaspoon of high THC cannabis-infused coconut oil before bed to repair damage to lungs and to reduce the inflammation. And also what I've found is over the years, I have less asthma attacks. The longer I've been on the cannabis oil, the less I've actually needed to use my pump. So I think that is also important to mention. All right, so for a beginner like me, how can I grow it? Okay, so cannabis likes to have a lot of sun, and it wants to get a lot of water, but it doesn't want its roots to be locked in water. So if you've got nice loose soil and you've got a wonderful sunny patch, that's all you basically need to begin with, and some seeds, obviously. And our climate is actually perfect for cannabis, so you don't even have to try that hard, especially in the beginning. Once you get into it, it's one of those subjects that is just never ending. There's so much to learn and there's so much to know. But to just grow yourself a basic healthy cannabis plant is very, very easy. As I said, you find a nice sunny patch. Make sure it's well watered, and make sure that the soil is able to drain properly. And then let it grow naturally in the sunlight. I like to add a little bit of Epsom salts, a teaspoon of Epsom salts to a liter of water, and give that to my plants once a week just to help them to grow. You do have to watch out for the males. So with cannabis, it's a bit of a sexist business and we want the female plant. We don't want the male plant. So if your male plant is growing, if you see it's a male, you've got to pull that thing out immediately. Otherwise, it pollinates your female and she then becomes less potent as a result. So, but that was also a little bit of that in my book of how to tell the difference between a male and a female. And of course, there's a lot of information online, and there is wonderful groups on Facebook that you can join where people will help you. Cannabis Club South Africa is one of them. They're very, very helpful, and they've helped me, and I've learned a lot from them. So I would definitely recommend that. But it's really, if you can grow a tomato, you can grow cannabis. You know, it's not a difficult plant, not in our climate anyway. Is it advisable for children under 12 who suffer from asthma to use cannabis for healing? Okay, so it's a slightly controversial issue, obviously, with children, because there is some studies that suggest that maybe it interferes with their development. I don't think. Personally, I disagree with the study, but we'll have to just wait and see on that one. So for me, I would say that with a child, and with asthma being such a serious issue, you're going to want to work with your doctor on this one. I would not recommend stopping all pharmaceutical products and moving them onto cannabis. What I would suggest doing is, but yes, I don't have a problem with children using this medicine. I mean, when we look at the other medicines that we give them, cannabis really is the least harmful of, I mean, the other medicines you're giving to them is given to them in alcohol. So no, I don't have a problem with giving them cannabis, but of course it's all about the dosage. You don't want to get your kids high, so you're going to start them on a very, very small dose, probably a tincture, just a few drops under the tongue, while you build up their tolerance until they can get to a point where it really benefits them. But really, there's a lot of ways of using cannabis medicine where if you do it correctly, you will not feel high through that period. If you're just taking a little bit at a time and you're just increasing it as and when you need to, you won't feel high, and so your child won't feel high, because obviously you don't want to do that to your kid. It's not teaching them the right things, but also, you know, they might not enjoy that feeling. So, you know, if they don't understand what's going on. So when it comes to the kids, you're going to want to err on the side of caution. You're going to want to work with an expert, a cannabis expert. And I've got a couple of people that I can recommend if you're looking for somebody. And these people really know their stuff, and they can help guide you when it comes to something. Because asthma is one of those that it is a little bit of a tricky one. And because it's so serious, I don't like to take a risk because it can happen very quickly. So, but yes, I do think you can give the children cannabis. It's going to help again. It's going to help them with sleeping better. It's going to help them deal with any anxiety or stress which may then be causing that asthma. There's all sorts of benefits for them. But as I said, in moderation, in the right dose for that child. Okay, thank you. I'll use Epsom salts. Yes, Epsom salts are wonderful. They also keep the pests away. Also, what you've got to remember with cannabis, with growing cannabis, is it's a very absorbent plant. So, you know, they're finding now that if you plant it in places where there was radioactivity or heavy metal poisoning or something, you know, mining or whatever, they plant hemp or cannabis in that area and they test the soil afterwards. The hemp and the cannabis actually pull all of that stuff out of the soil and helps to clean that soil up, which is great for the soil, but not for you if you're eating that plant that's just pulled up all that, you know, horrible stuff. So that is something to remember when you're growing cannabis. Don't use pesticides. Don't use heavily chemical pesticides. Your plant is going to suck that up and then you are going to end up ingesting it. So don't. Try to go a more organic route, you know, and just make sure that the whole process is a very holistic, natural process, because you're the one who's going to benefit from that at the end. Is it good for people with hypertension to boil and drink with water? All right, Talani, when you say boil, do you mean a part of the plant? I'm not sure. What I can say is for high blood pressure, one of the first things people with high blood pressure notice when they're on cannabis is that their blood pressure comes down, and they usually have to, it's one of the first medications that people have to come off of. So your cannabis helps to bring your blood pressure down. So if you're on a medicine that's artificially bringing your blood pressure down, it will push your blood pressure too low. So I do recommend for people with blood pressure that after about 2 to 4 weeks, if you do start noticing yourself feeling dizzy or lightheaded or nauseous or foggy, to maybe go and get your blood pressure rechecked, and if necessary, talk to your doctor about reducing your blood pressure medication. But you definitely can have it in a tea. The cannabis, you can even put the buds into a tea strainer and put them straight into the hot water and just boil them for a little bit and then drink that tea if you want to. But because cannabis is, you know, the THC and the goodness inside the cannabis, it's fat soluble, I recommend rather boiling it in sort of milk or something fatty, that it can help to pull out as much of the benefits from the plant as possible. So yeah, I just want to see if there's any questions I've missed. I just wanted to say to Suzette, well done. Congratulations for healing yourself of cancer with cannabis. It's a wonderful feeling, and I'm sure you know what it feels like to, with me, I mean, just before I go, because I think we've pretty much answered the questions and covered everything we need to, but I just wanted to say that prior to my cancer, I was in such a bad way. I was very ill, and I didn't realize, I suppose, how bad I was. And today, I mean, it's almost 9 years later since I had the cannabis, and I am still feeling so much stronger and healthier and more vibrant and happier today than I did 10 years ago. So I really do believe that this plant, it keeps on giving to you. It keeps on helping you. It really does help to undo a lot of the damage that we do to ourselves through our choices, through our, you know, stressful lifestyles and bad eating habits and drinking too much and medications and all that sort of thing. It all builds up in our system, and slowly but surely we just feel worse and worse and worse, and we think, oh well, it's because I'm getting old. And I've now learned that that's not true. It's not true. So I really do, I recommend this cannabis. I really do recommend it for anybody, but most especially for anybody over 40. One of the things that they've discovered is that cannabis, now they've discovered that contrary to what they were saying beforehand, where they said cannabis destroys your brain cells, they found now that it actually helps to heal the brain, especially of older people. So it helps to prevent things like Parkinson's and dementia and these sorts of diseases that come with age. So I really do recommend it for everybody. I really do think that it should be a part of everybody's kitchen, like everybody's diet. And although it is a lot of fun to use recreationally, and I really do recommend you do that from time to time, it is really also an incredibly powerful medicine for us, for the individual person. That means that you do not have to go to a doctor and pay doctor's fees and buy expensive medicines and go to the hospital and keep poisoning yourself. You can really take a step back from that. Go on this path and really start to cleanse and heal yourself and feel the benefits, the real tangible benefits of doing that. So yes, I hope you have enjoyed this talk. I hope it's been informative. And like I said, I hope you are excited to be able to go and make your own cannabis recipes for yourself and for your family, because everybody benefits from this plant. Okay, so there you go. At home with cannabis. You can get it in your nearest bookshop, or you can get it online at Amazon or Take-A-Lot. Wonderful, guys. Have a great day. Have a wonderful weekend. Get cooking. All right. Bye.